Alex Alonso with StreetTV, and I got a video of the defense exhibits in the case of People vs. Daystar Peterson. I'm doing this video by popular demand after you guys saw the 47 exhibits presented by the prosecution. You guys kept on tapping in with me for the defense exhibits. Now let me let you guys know that the defense doesn't have to present any exhibits. They don't have to introduce any exhibits. They don't have to introduce any witnesses, because the burden of proof rests on the state, rests on the prosecution. So in most cases, the defense might throw in a couple of exhibits. They might throw in a couple of witnesses, but for the most part, it's the prosecution that is trying to convince the jury a case. So that's why you might have 40, 50, 60 exhibits introduced. Or as in the case of People vs. Eric Holder, the guy that was convicted of killing Nipsey Hussle, they introduced 101 exhibits. So in most instances, the defense only introduces a handful of exhibits, because what they're constantly doing during the trial is cross-examining the witnesses when those, and at least in this case, when those 47 exhibits were presented. But they did present a few exhibits, and we'll start with Exhibit A. And this is a picture of Kelsey Harris that was taken at the police station, and it shows her backside. And this was introduced when Officer Sandra Cabral was testifying. And the reason they showed this, the defense showed this photo, is to show that the strap on her top was broken, ripped, torn. So on the left side, you'll see that her whole top is just hanging there. And he wanted to make aware, this is the defense attorney, George McDesian, he wanted to make aware that her shirt was ripped as a result of some sort of fight. And he asked the officer, do you see the broken strap? Looks like her dress is ripped. Yes, she says, undone. Did she have any injuries? Officer Cabral says, I don't recall. Then he shows her a picture of Exhibit 19, which was originally introduced by the prosecution. And you'll see there's actually a bunch of scrapes on her right shin. And earlier we saw body cam footage of Kelsey Harris that showed blood dripping from her legs. And I'm not quite sure if the blood that was dripping from her legs was Megan, or some of that blood actually could have came out of these cuts that you see on her right shin. So he shows Officer Cabral this picture, and she says there's blood on her right leg. And then he asks, are there any other injuries? And she says, I don't know. And then he asked, is the strap being ripped? Because you could also see here in the front, there's no strap going over her left shoulder. And then he asked Officer Cabral, is the strap being ripped? Is this mentioned in your police report? And she says no. And of course, the defense attorney was trying to get at the idea that perhaps this was a result of a fight that she had with Megan Thee Stallion. And this was the only exhibit introduced by the defense during the cross-examination of Officer Sandra Cabral. Then Exhibit B, this is a map of Nicholas Canyon Road. This was actually shown to Megan Thee Stallion when defense attorney George McDesian had her on cross-examination, and he wanted to get her to show where was that car parked. But let me just quickly talk about this map. It is as a geographer, I'm a human geographer / sociologist, but as a geographer who looks at maps and actually makes maps all the time, your north is always up. North is always up on a map, and you should actually have a north arrow on a map. This map, east is up. The top part of this map is actually pointing to the east. North is the left part of this map, and it's just a terrible map. This is a terrible map to present to someone. And I wasn't surprised of Megan's reaction when he asked her, can you show us on the map where the car was? She said, I don't even understand what I'm looking at. And I could understand, because you have a bunch of houses here and you have no idea what house you was in front of if this was 4:20 a.m. and it was dark. But she said, I'll try. And then he asked her, when you got out the car, which way did you walk? And she said, towards the front of the car. Towards the front? She said, yes. Did you tell Detective Stockner that you actually walked towards the rear of the car? The report says rear. And then Megan responded, I walked towards the front. How long after did you hear dance, bitch? And she said, a couple seconds. How long did it take to get to the front of that car? And she said, just about 2 to 3 seconds. So this testimony is actually a little interesting, because she's saying that as soon as she got out the car, she took 2 to 3 steps, a few steps, got to the front of the car, and the shooting started immediately. But we heard testimony that the shooting didn't happen immediately. There might have been some arguing and fighting outside of the car, and then at some point the shooting occurred. But when the defense attorney was asking her these questions about which way did you walk, he actually asked Megan, can you just draw on the back of this map which way you went? And this is actually a drawing that Megan Thee Stallion did. This is the car here, and there's 2 wheels she drew for the car, and the triangle represents the front end of the car, and we would be looking at the passenger side of the car. And she drew a line where she was at, and then where she walked to, when she got shot. So this was her actual drawing of the car and her location at the time of the shooting. And this is Defense Exhibit C. This was also introduced while Megan Thee Stallion was on cross-examination. And this is a picture of her in the hospital with some nurses tending to her injury. That would be her right foot. And this post says, LOL, what I have learned about majority of the people on social media is y'all like to hear bad news before good news. A lie spreads quicker than the truth, and all y'all really be believing this shit y'all make up. I got hit at the back of my feet because when I got shot, I was walking away facing the back. Why would I lie about getting shot? Why are y'all so upset that I don't want to be in the bed sad? Why are y'all upset that I can walk? I got my stitches out my feet like 2 weeks ago, and I was ready to go celebrate WAP going #1. I usually don't address internet BS, but y'all people are so sick. God was really watching over me, and I'm healing. Now, the reason why defense attorney introduced this as an exhibit is because she wrote here she was walking away facing the back. Defense said, you wrote I was walking away facing the back. How do you know who shot you? And then she said, well, because Tory Lanez said dance, bitch. And then he asked her during this exhibit, were you still scared in the ambulance? She said, yes. Why didn't you tell the truth in the hospital? And she said, snitching is frowned upon in the hip hop community, and I already said I stepped on glass. Were you scared in the hospital? She said, no. But you say you're a private person, right? And then she said, yes. And then that takes us to the next exhibit that the defense introduced. And this would be Defense Exhibit D. And this is an Instagram Live that Megan Thee Stallion recorded on August 20th, 2020. And this is the first time she IDs Tory as the shooter. One of the reasons why the defense attorney wanted to play this was because he wanted to show her trying to represent a street side. I'm from the South Side. I'm from Houston. I don't run to the police. I tried to keep shit off the internet.
And y'all gotta know, I am the nicest, the most calm, just just cool ass woman. Like, I don't be fucking with nobody. I don't do nothing to nobody. But y'all motherfuckers really dragging it. Like, I tried to just be cool, stay out the way, because at the end of the day, I'm really a real bitch. Like, I'm from Houston. I'm from the motherfucking South Side. It ain't like let me go run and tell my business to the motherfucking internet. Let me go run and tell my business to the police. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never been that type of person. Like, but I'm not gonna let y'all keep playing in my face. And I'm not gonna let this nigga keep playing in my face.
And then during the testimony here on cross-examination, she said that Tory shot her from the back seat. From the back seat of the car, he shot me. And that's a little different from the testimony we got from Kelsey Harris. She says that Tory shot her from the front passenger seat in that September 2022 statement. And Megan says Tory shot her from the back seat. And then the defense attorney continued to question her about why she came forward in this Instagram live to say that Tory shot her. And she said that Tory was posting or leaking information to the blogs.
Since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this nigga Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit. Stop lying. Why lie? I don't understand. I tried to keep the situation off the internet, but you dragging it. You really fucking dragging it. Motherfuckers talking about I hit this nigga. I never hit you. Motherfuckers was like, oh, she mad because he was trying to fuck with Kylie. No, I wasn't. Like, you dry shot me. Like, everybody in the car, it's only 4 motherfuckers in the car. Me, you, my homegirl, and your security. Everybody in the car arguing. I'm in the front seat. This nigga in the back seat. I get out the car. I'm done arguing. I don't want to argue no more. I get out. I'm walking away.
And then he asked her, so you stated the only reason you came forward that Tory shot you was because he was posting false narratives. And she said, well, he had people posting false narratives. And then the defense attorney asked, well, do you have any proof? And apparently there was no proof of what Tory was doing regarding these false narratives. And that was the end of this exhibit. Before defense exhibit D was introduced by the defense attorney, he actually had a couple questions using the prosecution's exhibit 16 of this bloody suitcase. He began to ask her the following questions when he put this exhibit up. This is actually 16B. And he asked her, did this suitcase belong to you or Kelsey? And she said, it could be Kelsey's. What about that Louis Vuitton bag right next to the suitcase? Whose bag is that? She said, I'm not sure. Then the defense attorney asked, is it yours? And she said she can't really see the Louis bag. So the attorney approaches Megan to show her a photo up close. And he asked, do you have a black Louis Vuitton bag? Then she says, I'm not sure. Did EJ put bags in Tory's car? She said, yes. What bags were they? And she says, I don't know. And that was the defense attorney's attempt to try to show that perhaps something was going on with their bags. Perhaps there was a weapon in their bag. Perhaps there was something in these bags that they didn't want to talk about. And she was a little evasive when addressing the Louis bag. And we also learned that the suitcase and the bag was put into the back of the truck by EJ. But at this point, the bags are in the back seat, right between the 2 chairs behind the center console. And then the last exhibit that the defense introduced was Exhibit F. And this is a photo of Nicholas Canyon Road. This would be looking south on Nicholas Canyon Road. And this photo was introduced during the testimony of Sean Kelly. And he asked Sean Kelly. Now Sean Kelly was on direct examination. And he asked, "What do you see in this photo?" And Sean Kelly says, "My driveway, a vehicle, and my house." Is that a balcony door? And if you look up at the top of this house, there's a window here with some sort of a small balcony. And he said, "That's my bedroom. There's 2 windows that face Nicholas Canyon. Those are my 2 bedroom windows and the balcony windows on the side. Tell us about when you were awakened. Did you see the vehicle?" And he mentioned seeing the Escalade, the black SUV Escalade, parked outside his house. And then he was asked can you draw a location on this map where the car was? Or he drew a rectangle of where that car was parked. I actually took an image of a black SUV and I placed it in the same location where Sean Kelly drew that rectangle. And based on his testimony, we learned that the passenger side of the car was facing his house, and that the altercation took place on that passenger side of the car. And Sean Kelly continued to say, "When I looked through the double windows, there were 2 girls. I saw 2 girls arguing. Did it escalate? Yes. Where were they standing?" And he points to the passenger side of where the truck was parked at. He said, "The 2 doors open. I stepped out on the balcony and they started fighting. They were pulling hair, hitting each other, quite violent." Then he was asked, "Was there a third party?" "Yes." He said he saw a tall gentleman get out the driver's side wearing all black. He was a black, large guy out of the driver's seat. And of course, he was referring to Jaquan. And we have a photo of Jaquan that was from the police station. And as you can see in this photo, Jaquan Smith was wearing all black. And that was the last exhibit presented by defense attorney George McDesian in the People vs. J. Star Peterson. Thanks for tapping in. I will have a link to all of these exhibits that you can download in PDF if you're interested in taking a closer look at them. And thanks for tapping in with Street TV.